Aloha. Welcome. I'm Abaya. We're going to continue our discovery of the true core, this team of muscles that helps us feel really light and buoyant. It improves our posture and decompresses all of our joints. Last week we had a lot of experimentation of trying things with and without this like magical deep core work, and it was really fun. So if you're watching this and you haven't done last week's, check out the original true core video. This week we're going to be using all the deep core work but without the before and after, so that it's more fluid, so you can just tap into that strength and experiment with a lot of balancing postures and coming into all of our sequences more fluidly. So with that, let's begin. You can take a quarter turn to your right. If you haven't spread out a blanket, you don't have to, but it's fun. If you've got one, go for it. And then set your 2 blocks over to the left, so they'll be beyond your head when you lay back. An extra blanket may be handy for your knees, and then when we get to restorative stuff at the end. So with that, you can join me in reclining and take your time getting there. Enjoy the pathway of melting into the earth, and we'll begin in silence with some breathing and centering, and then I will let you know when to hit play on the first track if you're following along. If it feels comfortable, close the eyes and start to take in the sensation of the earth being beneath you, that sense of being supported, and maybe even feeling the contact points between your physical body and whatever is beneath you. Feeling the heels and the calves, the glutes, and the upper back, the base of the skull, the back of the skull, backs of elbows and hands. Try closing the mouth and letting the tongue gently rest in its natural resting place in the roof of the mouth. Let the breath flow through the nostrils, and notice how the breath can be like an internal massage. That little increase in pressure as you inhale, and then the decrease as you exhale. You might literally feel a massage in all those contact points, touching the earth as the body expands and contracts. And then maybe internally as well, all the organs and soft tissues inside. And I invite you to relax, to notice any sense of contentment. Most of you are here in Hawaii, so yay, you get to lay down in the middle of the day. But wherever you are, getting to hit this reset button is a wonderful thing. And notice if you experience any agitation, like you want to get moving or you're wondering what's next, and that's totally fine. And just see if you can get more excited about the sensations happening right now. The breath, the rest. And gently start to reach through the fingers, keeping the arms relaxed. And just notice how that helps you take in the sensations of maybe the rug or the floor, whatever's beneath you, feeling the contact between the arms and that point. And then make little tiny scraping movements. Smearing is actually a kinder word. Smearing the arms along the surface beneath you. Imagine you're massaging the skin. And this is actually really good for the lymphatic system. You don't have to push or anything like that. Just the gentle weight of your arms and these subtle smearing movements. Can imagine you're like, I don't know if you've ever seen a butterfly that just came out of a chrysalis and their wings are kind of sticky and they haven't opened them yet. Imagine you're just starting to open your wings and then you release them, right? You don't have to move too much. You're just coming out of your chrysalis. And the next time the arms start to float, let them float all the way up to a place that feels spacious without any compression on tops of shoulders and side of neck. So for me, it's more like an X than arms overhead. And then let everything relax. Let the elbows soften. Make sure the shoulders feel soft. And if you're following along with the musical playlist, you can hit play on the first track and just make sure it's set to loop. From this big X-like shape, point the toes and reach through the arms, and do this as gently as possible so that you feel the reaching evenly from fingers to toes and not so much in perhaps like the shoulders or in the joints of the feet, but stretching through the whole body. See if you can do that, lengthening out without letting the low back overarch. And it actually takes a little bit of core work to do that. And try breathing here and notice if the breath is ever so gently constricted in a good way, because your core is on and that's just providing a little resistance for the breath to work against. One more breath here. Find a little space between the fingers and the toes, between your cells. Even try smiling a little bit and notice if you can feel that brightness cascade through the whole body. And then simultaneously start to drag the heels in towards the glutes as you float the fingertips down towards the heels, landing in a bridge setup pose. And then let everything relax for a moment. So the shoulders and the backs of the arms land. Try to visualize your feet. I know you can't see them, but just imagine you can see them in Tadasana, so that hips width stance with the second toes parallel to one another. Anchor the big toe here and play with letting the knees start to track open towards the toe that's next to the pinky. As you reach the knees forward, let the hips unweight and then set them back down and let the feet readjust. Do this a few times. Make sure to keep the big toes anchored, and this wide tracking of the knees is going to help fire up the spiral line of the legs. You might feel a gentle brightness in the glutes, and just make sure ankles and knees feel happy and spacious. Nice. As you repeat this pulsation, start to notice a sense of massage across the muscles to the left and right side of the spine, the rector spinae, and try to feel an evenness on right and left sides. So that might mean pressing differently through the feet and the arms. Sometimes, usually, we're a little asymmetrical, and that's okay. Let it be an experiment. And then slowly release one vertebra back down at a time, and almost feel that you're sinking into the earth as you land, and let yourself be really grounded and supported as the pelvis lands. The knees can knock in towards one another so the legs can relax completely. And we'll just pause and we'll breathe and we'll just take in that information. Start to snow angel the arms up just to a T. Let's have palms face up. Reach out through the hands, and then this is some of our work from last week. Keep contact between the arms and the floor beneath you, but just take the weight out of the arms. And as you take the weight out of the arms, notice any sense of the deep core turning on. Release the effort. Come to center again, and let's make sure our pelvis is level. So rock the pelvis forward and back. Notice how the spine responds when you do that. Let your movements get tinier and tinier until you start to feel when the spine is long. It's not flat, it's not pressing into the earth, but it's not overarching. There's space in the front and the back of the spine. And for me, I know I'm starting to hit that sweet spot when my neck starts to lengthen and the base of my skull reaches away, and I just have this really nice length through the whole spine. When you find that pause there, take a moment to breathe again, perhaps noticing a sense of pressure building as the breath meets that subtle core engagement. And now unweight the arms once again, keeping the pelvis neutral, and see if you can feel even more of that brightness at the core. Start to windshield wiper the knees from side to side with the core staying on, and they're not going to go as far. So the arms are unweighted, the pelvis is neutral, and that's going to limit the range of motion through the legs in a good way. You should start to feel, as the knees go to the right, a cascade all the way up to the left shoulder, and then vice versa as you go the other way. Nice kirtana. I could see you sort of like sink in with that cue. And the next time the knees start to go to the left, let the left arm reach overhead, and you'll naturally just roll right on to that left side. And pause there for a moment. Let the left side of the body pool. If you want to gently rock forward and back a little bit, you can, massaging out the muscles of the hips, around the rib cage and the shoulder. Whatever you're feeling is just fine here. And then start to push into the right hand, and then walk the left hand in, slowly pawing yourself up to this Virabhadrasana setup. Make sure the knees and hips feel okay, so it's okay to adjust the legs here to whatever feels natural. And then take a moment to tip your pelvis forward and back like we did while we were reclined, and try to find that middle position. And it's a little tricky here because it is tilted over to the right, but we want to make sure it's not tilted forward or back. So only one tilts this time to the right. Once you find neutral, exhale, very slowly float the arms to the horizon. Maybe you're still that butterfly, starting to dry out your wings and prepare. That wasn't the theme for class, but it's happening. And then inhale, release the arms down, and do this a couple of times, reaching the arms very slowly forward to the horizon ahead of you. And notice that little extra work that happens in the deep abdominals, the inner thighs, maybe even up through the fascia of the tongue. The next time the arms float, pause there, right hand down to legs, keeping that natural engagement that occurs. Start to push the left hip down into the earth, just letting the whole left side of the body naturally open. The left arm can start to float, but make sure it feels like it's connected to your hip and it's not just reaching and lifting the rib cage in an isolated way. Take a couple of breaths here. Keep the shoulders soft. You can even bend a little bit and bounce through the arm just to make sure the shoulder complex is landing on the rib cage. Check in with your neck and make sure you're not just like dropping the right ear. And then just for fun, let's consciously let the right ear slowly lower to the right shoulder, letting the side of the neck lengthen. And then float up, kick your legs forward, switch them over to the other side, and then milk this moment, because I really want you to enjoy the bliss of getting to find Savasana again. Start to paw the hands down, and then feed the right arm through, So you can melt open into a big soft stretch. And we'll just pause and be silent for a moment. And I'm feeling the urge to have these moments of silence be a little longer than usual. And if you notice that that's delightful, just sink into it. If you notice that it's agitating, that's okay. Our nervous system might be a little bit amped up, and then it doesn't know what to do with stillness and silence. So just try to focus on your exhale, focus on feeling safe, and see if you can relax in these moments of pause. It'll help you rewire physically and energetically. And from here, we'll begin the sequence on the second side. So heels dragon, hands float towards the feet. We'll just do one bridge here. So anchor the big toes, knees drift wide towards the fourth toe, unweighting the pelvis, and then unweighting one vertebra at a time. Take one breath at the top if it feels good. And then gently melt the spine back down. As the pelvis lands, take a moment to find your neutral. Float the arms to T, palms face up. Unweight the arms. And unweighting the arms hopefully should help you feel something not in the shoulders but in the deep core. So that's why we find the neutral, and that's why less is more. And then start to windshield wiper the knees, finding that connection from how the movement of the knees impacts sensation all the way up to the shoulders. Nice. Yeah, less is more. Low and smooth is nice and strong. And the next time the legs head over to the right, let the right arm slide overhead, and you'll naturally roll all the way onto the right side. Left hand can come in front of you, legs stack, and just be still for a moment, letting the right side of the body feel safe, letting it relax and soften. If you want to take some gentle rocks forward and back to massage the right side of the body, you're welcome to. And then push into the left hand and slowly walk the hands in, coming up to Bharadvajasana on the second side. Adjust the legs to whatever feels natural and easy and nice in your joints. Take a moment to find a level pelvis. It's okay that it's tipped over to the right. And then as you exhale, hover the arms to the horizon and inhale, set them back down. Do this a few times. You can even try as you exhale to gently press the tongue into the roof of the mouth and see if that helps you feel the connection from your core all the way up through the spine to the skull. And the next time the arms float, cross left arm to the right knee. Push the right hip down into the earth to let the whole right side of the body flutter open. Arm can do whatever feels natural. Breathe. At first, let's keep the neck in line with the spine. I often go too far with my head, so you want a nice even curve all the way up to the crown of the head. And then just because my body's craving this, I'm going to offer it to you. Very gently and consciously allow the left ear to lengthen towards the left shoulder. Bonus points if you can feel that all the way through your spine and not just in the neck. If you feel it just in the neck, you might be going a little too far with not enough core support. One more breath here. And then float back up. Kick the legs forward, tuck them back in as if we were going to the other side. Plant your hands though, kind of like plank, and then glide the knees underneath the body. Grab your blocks. We'll start with them at the lowest height. Bring them in underneath the hands. Option to place a blanket underneath your knees. Sometimes a little extra padding is enjoyable here. And I invite you to have a sip of water. My body was asking for that. You can also go to the second track of our playlist. All right, so let's meet in table, and we'll warm up the shoulders a little bit. So lower one forearm at a time and then come back up and move really nice and slow, letting shoulders, elbows, wrists, and all the joints of the fingers work together. So you don't feel it in one place, but it's almost like you're a raft just inflating as you push into the arms and deflating as you come down onto the elbows. And then next time you're on the hands, reverse directions. Start to pay attention to the back of the heart. If you notice a sinking and a scapular winging, try just ever so gently puffing up and lifting the rib cage into the scapula. As soon as I did that, it's funny, I was cueing it, and then my body was like, oh, Abaya, you actually need to be doing this more than you thought. I felt my core engage a little bit extra, not like a crunch, just like that brightness we've been exploring. Next time you come up, pause there, and let's start to play with tipping the pelvis forward and then letting the pelvis drop back. So just like we've done on our back now, you don't have the tactile sensation of the floor beneath you, so you can even close the eyes to try to visualize what the pelvis and spine are doing. Bring a little extra weight to the pinky side of the hand. Make sure the elbow is nice and soft. Let your pelvis movement get smaller and smaller, so you're hovering around center. And this was really hard for me to know for a long time, so it might be something you want to do in front of a mirror once in a while. I'll actually look at you. Roseanne looks great. Jay looks great. Satyam Colin looks great. And Satyam's laughing at me. Kirtana, you look great too. I think your pelvis is looking a little bit tipped back. So yeah, that looks great. I know, it's so weird. It probably felt neutral. Our bodies are fun, aren't they? So let's pause at neutral here. And then without losing the neutral that you have earned, shift the weight into the right knee and start to glide the left foot back, like just sneaking it back. Nice, great. And you should feel like the core has to support you for nothing else to move besides the leg. Let's try that a couple more times on your own and sync it up with the exhale. I love exhaling for deep core work, though you can always switch it up and there's always benefits. So if your body is craving something else, ignore me and do that. I'm just like giving you suggestions. The next time the leg comes back, pause there and take a little bit of weight out of the foot so that the core work increases. Shift the weight into the left hand, big circle with the right hand forward, up, and back. Our deep core is on, so there should be a sense of deep connection from the right side of the rib cage down into the right pelvis. And then lower the right hand down, tuck the toes under, hover the knee, press the hips up and back into a staggered down dog. Breathe here, lengthen through the spine. Option to sway the hips a little if the body's asking for that. And then we will be eventually slowly lowering the right knee back down and just letting that left leg swing naturally forward to a short lunge. So when you're ready for that, start to shift the weight forward, lower the knee, and just let that left leg swing outside of the blocks. Nice and easy. Great job. I want to wake up the foot a little extra because we have a super fun balance sequence coming up. So let's bring our blocks to a higher height. Anchor the big toe down. That's going to really help with balance. And start to play with drawing some circles with the knee around the ankle. Look at your left foot. I know you can't see mine, so you might as well just look at your own. And notice how when the knee circles, the foot adapts. You might notice a place where the arch lifts a little bit more, and then though the foot is still active, it might look a little bit flatter. Make sure you're not putting any pressure in the knee. We want the foot to be really adaptable here. Bonus, if you start to feel your glutes brighten as the big toe anchors and the knee glides over to the left, you might feel that sensation on the outside of the left hip. And then come back to center. Equal weight in both feet. Slowly come up to a high kneel. And with your exhale, float the arms to T. Exhale is when the deep core turns on. Do a few of these on your own. Notice if your pelvis needs to be leveled here. Chances are it does, but actually you guys look really good. Your deep cores are just on. You're supported. As the arms float, if the pelvis is level, it should feel almost like the tailbone is lengthening down and integrating into the inside of the right thigh. And it's not because the glutes are engaging, but rather the deep core is lifting the front of the pelvis slightly. Next time the arms float up, pause there and use your next inhale to push evenly into both feet and slowly let the whole front of the body expand. The arms actually stay from the same angle of the shoulders, but it's the spine that moves for now. Take a breath here. Make sure you're relaxed in the neck and shoulders. You can sway a little bit if that helps. And then release the hands back down to the blocks. Highest height if it's not. Tuck back toes, lift the back knee, and slowly lengthen the front leg for a modified parsvottanasana. Push the hands into the blocks just so you have some awareness of what the spine and upper body are doing. Make sure you can put equal weight in both feet. Everyone looks great. Take a couple of breaths here, letting the spine elongate. And then start to play with taking the weight out of the left foot. When you take the weight out of the left foot, the core is going to engage. See if you can lengthen and drape the low spine over the upper thigh. We don't want to increase the arch in the upper back, but we do want to increase it in the low back. Set the foot down, neutral spine. Take a couple of pulses like that. So exhale, unweight the leg, lengthen and drape the low spine. And then come back. Move at your own pace and really try to feel how that unweighting of the leg stimulates this deep core strength that allows you to go a little deeper where you might not have even realized you could. And then set the foot down. Walk the blocks over to the right and turn all 10 toes first towards me, and then keep on going. The right foot's going to point to the short edge of the mat. Both blocks are going to come inside of the right foot, and then look back at the left foot. Let the heel come out just a few degrees. Anchor the big toe. Let the outer pinky side edge of the foot suction down, and then take the weight out of the blocks so your core engages. Slowly press evenly into both feet to float up to Virabhadrasana 2. Gaze over the right middle finger and release the arms for a moment. Press evenly into both feet to find length in the spine. Notice what your pelvis is doing. Is it rocking forward? Is it rocking back? I think it's probably perfect because you've done all your deep core work. Next, exhale, float the arms to the horizon and see if you can feel how that adds a little extra work onto the spine and the deep core. Do a couple of pulses like that, or if you're already feeling it and you just want to sink into stillness, you're welcome to do that always. And the next time you float, pause there, breathe, and just relax. Make sure you're in this effortless effort experience where the deep core is supporting you, but the superficial muscles don't need to fire so much. Okay, lift the left heel. Let the hips start to square over to the right. We're going to practice our transition for later. Both hands come down to the block. Make sure the left block is nice and wide, and then glide the left knee between the blocks. And then step that foot back and try it a couple of times and see if you can use a little bit of momentum where you, nice Roseanne, where you can feel how the step just makes it really easy to lower that leg down. And then the next time you do that, let's meet with the legs stepped back, and we'll actually step the right foot back. So you're in a plank on blocks, and then lower the knees, lower the blocks to the lowest height. And before we do the second side, we'll have a nimesha, this moment of dissolving into stillness. So press back into Bharadvajasana. If the hands don't feel comfortable on the blocks, you can make any adjustments. Just let yourself be relaxed. And Jay, I can see that your hips aren't on the heels. Does this feel restful for you? Does it feel relaxing? Just give me a thumbs up if you're comfortable. Okay, cool. And if anyone's wondering what to do if they're not comfortable, sometimes cat pose is a really nice option. So just rounding the spine. And I'll just be quiet for a moment for you all to be able to absorb. Push the knees down into the earth to float up to table. We'll begin that sequence on the second side. Take a moment to play with finding your neutral pelvis. And once you've found it, the exhale will glide the right foot back. Try that a couple of times because it actually takes a surprising amount of strength to take the foot back without anything else in the body moving. Next time the leg goes back, shift the weight into the right hand and then slowly start to unweight the foot. Less is more, so toes are still touching, but notice how the deep core dials up. Left arm circles forward, up, and back, and feel the connection between rib cage, side core, and pelvis as you circle here. The arm comes back down to the block, tuck the toes under, hover the left knee, press the hips up and back, stagger down dog. I really enjoy in stagger down dog that you can focus on that one leg that's extending. Maybe it's because my calves always need a little stretch, but just enjoy what's happening in the right leg. And then we'll get ready for our momentum that's going to take the right leg into an effortless lunge. So slowly lower the left knee, let the right leg just swing forward, and then lift the blocks to their highest height. We'll wake up the right foot now. So anchor the right big toe to the earth and start to make some circles with the knee, making a bigger circle than the ankle. Try to keep the center of the heel anchored just to wake up more muscles in the calf and the foot. And observe what happens in the arch of the foot, the other muscles. As long as you're looking at your foot, you can play with splaying your toes. That's okay if it's hard. That's hard unless you practice it. And then circle the opposite direction. Come back to center. Press evenly into both legs to rise up to neutral. Let the pelvis relax. You can always touch the pelvis to figure out what it's doing. If you're not sure, tactile feedback is always helpful. Next, exhale, float the arms to the horizon and find the brightness. Nice, everyone's moving so smoothly. Take a couple of pulses, and the exhales where we're turning on the deep core. The next time the arms float, keep them where they are. It's like a 90-degree angle with the body. And inhale, push down into the left knee to slowly open through the whole front of the body. And keeping the arms at that angle will really help you be honest with how much your spine is extending. Take a breath here. And then release the hands to the blocks. Tuck back toes, lift back knee. Parsvottanasana, nice and easy. Option for a little sway if you want. And then we'll play with unweighting the front foot. First, make sure that you can press evenly into both feet. I feel like my stance is a little long, so give yourself permission to adjust where the back foot is. You want to make sure it feels like the legs are working together to support your spine. When you feel ready, exhale to unweight the front leg and then reach the low spine forward as if you're trying to touch it towards the thigh. And then let everything go. Option to wag the tail. And when you feel ready, exhale to unweight and lengthen the spine and then release. We'll do one more on your own. Nice. Yeah, less is more here. It might not be super visible, but hopefully you can feel a sense of space being created between those vertebrae and the lumbar spine. From here, we're going to end up in Virabhadrasana 2, facing to the left. So walk the blocks over to the left, turn the left toes out, and then look back at the right heel. Let it open out, line up the feet, heel to arch alignment, unweight the hands from the block to turn on the core, and then push evenly into both feet to float up to that T. Bend the left knee, anchor the left big toe, and let the knee track wide towards the fourth toe, just like we did in bridge pose. And notice the spiral that turns on in the left leg. Gaze over the left middle finger. And then inhale to release the arms down. Exhale to effortlessly float them up, and just notice what happens at your center when you do that. Do a few on your own or hold and breathe. It's up to you. And the next time the arms float, let's all pause or pose if there's a pose you want to do. And see if you can do less. And just find that sense of ease, almost like you're floating in the ocean, and that buoyancy is helping you stay upright. And then lift the right heel. Start to turn the hips to the right. The foot turns with you. Lower the hands to the block. Step the right hand out really wide. Glide the right knee in. And then do that a couple of times, trying to move with momentum so you don't feel a lot of taxation. I don't know if that works on your limbs, but it's just like, oh, the hips start to swing forward and the knee comes down. The next time the leg steps back, walk the hands in, step the right foot back to plank, just so we have a little bit of balance from the first side. But this time, we're actually coming up to standing. So bend the knees, send the hips back, spring the left foot forward once again. Slide the right heel down and push or unweight the hands and slowly float back up to Virabhadrasana 2. So now we get to balance. Slide the back foot in just a little bit, like a shorter Virabhadrasana 2. It's going to make our transition. Oh, good idea. Colin is drinking some water. Let's all be like Colin. You don't have to. I just really need more water. Okay. So I'm pretty sure we're going to need this, so we're going to do it just in case. Take your inside block and place it back by your right foot and let them be pretty wide so they're off the edge of the blanket, or your mat, so they're not in the way, but they'll be handy. So they're about a foot and a half away from the feet, and you've got one in front of the right foot, one in front of the left foot. Cool. Okay, so same transition that we've been playing with. Plug the left heel in and start to bend into the left knee. You don't want to feel pressure in the front of the left knee. Make sure there's a sense of support through the back of the left leg. Start to bounce the leg. If the body wants to respond, you can lengthen up through the left arm and left side body. And eventually we're shifting weight onto the left foot and letting the hips start to square. So play with that on your own. So you're starting to face the left leg. And the next time you shift forward, let the right knee lift, pausing in single leg Tadasana. If this is too much for the hips, you can bring the big toe down to relax the hips for a moment. We're going to do some deep core here. So with your next exhale, float the arms to the horizon and then inhale them back down. Last week, the block was under the foot, so if you like that, feel free to do it again here. The next time the arms float to the horizon, pause there, and we'll inhale, drop the right arm and let it swing back like a pendulum. And then as you exhale and the arm lengthens forward, let the right leg slide back into a baby Virabhadrasana 3. And then we'll inhale back to the center so the knee slides forward, and we'll do that whole thing again. So exhale, float the arms. Inhale, pendulum swing to open. Exhale, reverse it into Vira 3. Vira 3, I love reaching the right arm forward so I can feel length on the whole right side. And the left arm, it's kind of fun to let it swing back. You're welcome to try that more fluidly the next round. We'll do this just one more time. So the knee floats or the toes touch down. Exhale for a deep core. Inhale, pendulum. Exhale, Vira 3. Option to let that left arm reach back, right arm reach forward. And then set the toes down. Keep the ankle lifted like a high lunge. Lower the right hand to the block. It's okay to adjust it so it's in just a little bit. Shift a little bit of weight into the right hand. And then for Parivrtta Trikonasana, left arm reaches forward, up and back. Keep the left leg nice and soft. Once the left hand gets to 12 o'clock, pause there, play with unweighting the left leg just a little bit and see if the spine wants to twist more, especially from the lumbar. Okay, my favorite part of this whole sequence, slowly release the left hand so you're coming out of the twist. Turn all 10 toes to the side and then keep turning them to the other side of the mat. Shift the weight into the right foot and slowly lift the back foot. For this first round, we're just doing a baby half moon, but it'll get bigger as your body wants to. And then from here, slowly swing the leg forward into that sequence on the second side. Option to set the toes on the block, keep them hovered, or lower them to the earth. Exhale, floats the arms. And we do a couple on this side. So inhale down, exhale, deep core. As you play with the deep core, try to notice how the hovering of the arms turns on not just the muscles in the center of your body, but how you can lengthen the tailbone down, start to get space through the psoas. Maybe you even feel the arch of the foot gently lift. The tongue can press into the roof of the mouth. Next time, arms hover, pause there. Inhale for the pendulum. Exhale, little Virabhadrasana 3 because it's our first one. And then we'll do it again. So leg swings forward to whatever place has been feeling good. Exhale, deep core. Inhale, pendulum. Exhale, Vira 3. Inhale back to the beginning, last one. Exhale, deep core. Inhale, pendulum. Exhale, Vira 3. Hold for a breath. And then slowly lower the left toes to the mat. Keep the left heel up. I forgot to do this on the first side, but let's float the arms to the horizon. Let's take one moment in Virabhadrasana 1. The back heel can lower if you want it to. And then we'll exhale forward, placing the left hand to the block, letting the hips sway a little bit to the left, and then circling the right arm forward, up, and back. Parivrtta Trikonasana, option to unweight the right leg and see if you can get some length and also some twist through the spine. Ooh, we're getting ready. We're winding up for our Ardha Chandrasana on the other side. So as you feel ready, release the wind up, let the toes turn, start to swivel all the way to the other side, bend the left knee, shift the weight, and just let the right foot hover just a little bit. And then the right leg swings. We're going to do the whole thing again. So let the right leg come forward, option for block or air or whatever. Or whatever. Exhale, arms to the horizon. Inhale, pendulum. Exhale, Vira 3. And this time, set the toes down right away, right hand to block, and circle the left arm forward and up for Parivrtta Trikonasana. Here's our wind up for Ardha Chandrasana. And when you feel ready, release the wind up, let the whole body swivel to the other side, and then launch, but with control, onto the right leg. Stay here as long as you want, but whenever you've had enough, we'll meet in our single leg Tadasana on the second side. And the foot can always be on the block if you're there for longer. Nice, Roseanne. When you're ready for the second side, the exhale turns on the deep core. Inhale, pendulum. Exhale, Vira 3. Set the toes down, set the heel down, float up into your Vira 1. And then release forward, hand to block, Parivrtta Trikonasana. Notice if you're starting to find a little more ease in the Parivrtta Trikonasana as we repeat this. This is the wind up, so feel the whole right side of the body shortening. And then we'll, like a spring, we'll let all that energy go as we travel to the other side, launching into our Ardha Chandrasana. Anchor the left big toe. Let the knee drift wide towards the toe next to the pinky. Feel the whole back chain of the body engage, including the glutes. Okay, this time we'll lower the toes down. We'll step forward, just pausing for one moment. And then we'll practice our very fun transition. So the right leg can swing back. Place your right hand to the block. And let's push into the feet to send the hips back like parsvottanasana. And then bend the left knee. Let the hips swing forward so it's easier to let the whole right leg step forward. Nice, you got it. Right hip lowers. And then bring the left leg in front of the right, pausing for a moment in Sukhasana. We haven't found stillness in a while, so just observe the mind here, observe the body. We've done so much deep core work. Notice how the spine feels. Usually sitting upright, I find quite taxing. Notice if it feels easy in this moment. You can skip ahead 2 tracks to our cool down track. Feel free to grab a sip of water. Okay, so let's see here. Turn to face me. We're going to make a bolster with our 2 blocks, so you can line them up long ways. I'm doing mine over to the right hand side, and then place your blanket over the blocks. If you've got a real bolster, you can totally do that, of course. And I like to have as much cushioning as possible on the top of my blocks so they're nice and soft. So you might do some additional folds. Here's the moment when having a strap might be useful. If you have a scarf or a belt, that should work too. And we will need a loop in the strap. So take a moment to do that. And then place the loop closer to you and the tail further away. And Kirtana, I see you looking around. You're probably fine without a strap. It's just nice to have as an option. And so then place the tail further away from you. Let's take a moment to revisit our bharadvajasana setup. And then it's going to be just a little bit different. We're going to scooch close to the bolster so that our thigh is perpendicular with our support. And then let the top leg come off of the top foot. That's going to feel better because we're here for longer. And just make sure the inside of your left knee feels okay. If it feels like your leg, your knee is twisting open a little bit, you can create a little bit of cushioning with your extra blanket, or if you have any props nearby to support it. I've never done this before, but that actually feels really nice. So if you don't mind making a rat's nest of your mat, just go for it. And then as long as we're here, let's place the strap on the foot. Not everyone's going to need that, but it's just nice to not have to do it when you're reclining. Let's take a couple of nice easy twists to the right. And you can pulse in and out, or you can stay in the twist. Gently push the right sit bone down into the earth and notice that brightness of the deep core. Press the tongue into the roof of the mouth. Gaze over to the right. And then before we begin to rest, gently fade your music out. Slowly, quieter, quieter. It's really nice to do that for yourself. And one paw on either side of your bolster. Start to recline the right side of the body onto the support and the right ear. And wiggle around a little bit. Let the orientation of the pelvis and the legs change so you're not feeling any pressure in the hips or in the knees. And we're going to pause here at first. The strap will come into play in a moment. And as you breathe, just notice how the right side of the rib cage interacts with the bolster. We don't often get a lot of attention in the rib cage, so if you want to gently wiggle a little bit to apply pressure. I love the pressure that's happening on my pecs between the right side of my chest and my right shoulder. And then option to reach the right arm down towards the right foot. If you have a strap, you'll probably feel some part of the strap, and then you can hold on to the strap. Some of you will be able to hold on to your foot. Make sure that this feels even through the body, like up through the thigh and the hip and even the deep abdominals, and you're not feeling like pinching in the low back or the knee or the hip. And be really gentle. We're not trying to yank on the foot or the strap, but just that nice bind, I find, helps me really breathe into my psoas. That's the deep core. It's the middle of our deep core that connects the thigh through the hip to the low back. Primary muscle of walking and breathing, depending on who you ask. We're going to just chill out here and breathe for a little bit. If it ever feels uncomfortable, release the strap, make any adjustments. You don't want to feel these restorative poses acutely in one muscle or one joint. It should just be nice and chill, like you can fall asleep, be here for an hour, and wake up and be awesome. We'll take a couple more breaths here. Eventually release the foot or the strap. Replace the right hand beneath the right shoulder and ever so gently start to lift the head. Push into the arms. Walk the hands in. Slide the strap off the foot so that you can kick the left foot long. Feel all that blood flow in the left leg. And then gently let the whole right side of the body open. Reach the left arm long inside of the left leg. And as you exhale, hover to lift the arm. Notice if you can get a little more length and a little more spiral through the spine. Oh, beautiful. And then release the arm down. Take a breath through the right side of the body. Make sure there's a little bend in the left knee so it doesn't feel like it's hyperextending, and either hold still and feel length through the whole spine, or make some really gentle shearing motions where the heart points down and then the heart points up, and this allows all the tissues on the right side of the body to glide along one another. Some of us might need more stillness, so just be open to listening to what your body is telling you. If you find a really interesting place, feel free to pause there and breathe. Sometimes it's fun for Parivrtta Trikonasana to turn more into traditional Janu. And then eventually make your way up to neutral. Bring the left leg in front of the right. Pause in Sukhasana just to absorb the depth of what just happened in your body. And then it's up to you. You can either bring the whole bolster to the other side, or you can turn your back on me. Either one is fine. And then just make sure the loop of the strap is closer to you and the tail of the strap is further away alongside the bolster. Feel free to grab a sip of water. And we begin in bharadvajasana. So stack the right leg on the left. Let the legs stagger. Bring the left thigh towards the bolster so they meet at perpendicularly. And then make sure the right leg's not on the left foot, because that's not going to feel good once you relax. Feel free to support the right knee. I'm not going to make a rat's nest this time, but you can. And then make sure the right foot feels it like it's at a comfortable angle, and grab the strap and place it on the right foot. Let's begin with a nice easy twist. We always want to take our time getting into these restorative poses. So just breathe in Virabhadrasana. Push the left leg down into the earth and notice how the spine rebounds. Use that rebound to lengthen and twist. Head and neck follow at the end. Try to feel space through the right and the left sides of the throat. Breathe. Stay here as long as the body is craving it. When you feel ready, you can start to drape the left side of the rib cage on your prop, left ear. I even like to hug my block a little bit. And start to breathe and let the left side of the body relax. There is some lengthening happening on the outside of the left hip and left IT band. And so just breathe into the left side of the body and let the breath massage those tissues. Let the forehead relax. Though the tongue is on the roof of the mouth and the lips are closed, the jaw is relaxed. There's just a tiny gap between the teeth. And you can stay just like this. You can start to reach the left arm alongside the body and then straight down towards the foot, either holding on to the foot or the strap. And I find just holding the strap helps me get a little extra space on the front of that hip and quadricep, but I'm not pulling, I'm not forcing. It's just like stringing a bow. It just creates this nice spaciousness. And then the breath massages the deep front line. You might feel the diaphragm pressing down as you inhale. And then as you exhale and the diaphragm lifts into the bottom of the rib cage, there might be even more space created on the front of the right hip. And just breathe here and relax. We'll stay here for a minute or two. Let's take a couple more breaths. And then gently release the strap. Place the hand underneath the shoulder. Push down into the legs so the body starts to unweight and you can ease up out of the pose. Let the right leg kick out long. You can take the strap off. And then with a soft knee on that right leg, lengthen through the whole left side of the body. Elongate the right arm and play with exhaling to hover the right arm, and notice if you can use that to lengthen and reach more without holding the breath. And then release the right arm back down and either hold steady or take those gentle shearing movements, exploring the left side of the body. And slowly press the legs into the earth to float to neutral and bring the right leg in front of the left, just pausing for one moment in Sukhasana, witnessing the state of your being. And then turn towards your bolster. Option to use this whole thing as a prop behind the legs for Savasana. As long as you have a strap with a loop, I really enjoy making it a little wider and placing it over the thighs. It just changes the experience of what's happening in my legs during Savasana. So feel free to try it, and also feel free to take it off at any time. And then if you're using the bolster, slide forward so it's at the peak of the knees. And then the only thing you want to make sure with the bolster is that when you lay down, it doesn't feel like it's creating pressure as it lifts the thigh bone and the thigh bone touches the front of the hip socket. So just check in and make sure the hips and the calves are okay with this arrangement. You can wiggle around a little bit. Feel free to put on any warm layers. You can use the tail of the strap as an eye mask. And we'll rest here in Savasana for about 10 minutes, and then we'll meditate. And as you start to drift into stillness, give yourself permission to wiggle around. You don't really want to be feeling any feedback in the body. That might mean there's an area that doesn't feel supported, and so wiggle until you find evenness. And just for fun, because we focus so much on the deep core, we'll finish with one last deep core thing before we release completely. Relax the arms, find your neutral pelvis, and then without lifting your arms, just start to take the weight out of them so they're still touching the earth, and just notice how the deep core engages. You can stay here and breathe. Make sure there's no tension. Less really is more. Take a couple of breaths with the deep core still on. And then let the arms relax and let the whole body relax, and just ride that wave into your Savasana. Let yourself just be for a moment. No need to transition so quickly. Observe your breath. Observe what it feels like to be inside of your skin. And let a gentle movement start to ripple through the body. And notice any sense of contentment rising up. And take your time and enjoy the process. Let's start setting your trajectory towards seated, and take any stops along the way, and think of this just like a sequence in our yoga class where you're feeling and you're exploring and you're enjoying conscious awareness of your physical, pranic, and energetic bodies. And when you do eventually make it to seated, take good care of yourself. Take the time to grab anything you need to sit comfortably, and a chair is fine. Just like we set up for our restorative pose, and we took our time approaching that rest and rejuvenate position, take your time finding your way into this most rejuvenating position of meditation. And once you've done that, close the eyes or gaze at a single place and witness what it feels like to be inside of your body. Without preparation, this is one of the most painful seats. What does it feel like with all of the preparation you've done? Preparing your physical body, preparing the deep core. Notice any support through the legs, through the spine. And notice the mind. Do you feel safe coming into this vulnerable space of quiet and stillness? Is there more space between the thoughts than usual? Notice the breath. Is it smooth and balanced and slow from giving yourself the gift of this yoga class? And we'll take all of that as our jumping off point for our meditation. We'll be practicing the hum-sa meditation, the natural breath. And so see if you can close the mouth and gently rest the tongue. And allow full natural breaths to sweep down into the heart space. And then keep your awareness at the heart. As you exhale and breath leaves, feel that opportunity to release the thoughts, release the grip, and feel more spacious. And continuing to enjoy the breath in this way, can attach hum to each inhale and sa to each exhale. And let your repetition of the mantra be just as smooth and natural as the breath. Like the same internal volume and intensity. And give yourself the opportunity to notice the space at the top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale before the breath changes directions and there's that moment of hang time. Become curious about the actual moment when in-breath and out-breath fuse. Imagine You can take in more breath, more pranic energy by relaxing even more. By bringing even more awareness to the breath. You don't have to physically take a bigger breath. In fact, it's the opposite. You need to release effort and allow the breath to be absorbed into your system. Thank you so much for sharing this practice. Namaste. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I invite you to notice how you feel as you do whatever you're doing, because the deep core really is magical. I know it feels like we weren't doing a lot with all those arm floats, but a lot really was happening. So just notice how your body feels the rest of the day, and of course your mind and your heart too. See you soon. Aloha. I miss you, Roseanne. So great to be here with you.